Choreo-Lab is very important to me because as a choreographer, when I started, I didn't have these opportunities. And every time I apply for a mainstream choreographic lab, I was not able to get in because I am a disabled artist. The lab at AXIS gives opportunity to those that really want to have the time and the tools and the support to experiment and to figure out their process.
There's so many different types of learning that I experience in one day because I'm in the studio with dancers, I'm being mentored by Nadia, and I'm experiencing professional development with leaders in other parts of the dance production field at large.
The Choreo-Lab has supported the development of my artistry through really providing a structure that we're all working within, various resources, including other people and performers and artists and the space, and also a space to process what's happening through mentorship and also kind of peer mentorship.
It creates a container where folks can process their questions and dreams about the industry in real time.
The Choreo-Lab has supported the development of my artistry in ways that have allowed me to really think about my intentions in the room as a choreographer and also my feelings and grappling with that relationship I have with dance, which is sometimes fraught and taught. And really the Choreo-Lab has helped me kind of rediscover the joy of dance.
We push the choreographers and fellows that participate here to do something different and new, not only for the field of dance, but also for themselves. It's always, it's a tradition that you have to have a finished piece, that you have to present all these things. And we push that and we say, no, this is a time to explore and to research and to play.
It's been really great to be able to work with another disabled choreographer and kind of learn from their experience, and they're able to learn from our experience. And since we don't have the pressure of being ready for a performance and like a really strict timeline, we're kind of really able to dive into this process and enjoy it.
Choreo-Lab is a really unique program and a really unique space that is based in exploration, which is not something that is common in the dance field at large.
I believe the best way to push somebody's artistic process is to ask a lot of questions, because my process is probably very different to another choreographer's process, and I should not assume that my process is going to work for them. By asking questions, they find their own way, and that's beautiful because that works for them.
What's really cool and exciting about this year's Choreo-Lab is that we also had a New York City extension. So I think that it was really exciting to see it expand and see now these artists on the East Coast are having the same opportunity that we're having here without having to travel or deal with those expenses. So I think the more we can expand opportunities like this to other places, it will become more accessible to people.
When I was first here in 2018, bringing my choreography to people and having an actual mentorship was really important to me. Now I'm here dancing and there's this different feeling of actually being in a space with people.
The 2020 Choreo-Lab was at the very beginning of the pandemic. So my role as a choreographer was all virtual. Thinking about what to choreograph, I decided to use the environments of our homes and also start working more on focusing on audio description and transitioning to AXIS 2022 Choreo-Lab, as a dancer, we also did a lot of hybrid work. So when I wasn't physically in the studio, I started using my audio description skills to incorporate that into the pieces that have been created.
I would like to say that I'm very excited about the choreographers this year. I think they all bring their unique vision. I think they all bring their unique artistry. And I think it's been great for also the dancers on both sides to be able to dig into different processes that they were not exposed to before.
Like, so what positions from that, what positions bring you ease? Like physical positions. The ideas I'm investigating in my research include satire, making fun, poking fun at dance traditions, vocabulary, techniques. Improvisation is a real big part of my process, both in warming up, embodiment, and also in terms of composition and choreography. I think getting in the room with real people really shakes things up, and sometimes I stick to my plan and sometimes I don't, which is not uncommon, but I think in the past I've really forced myself to stay on course, whatever that may be, and not really allowing the process to influence the process.
So we're doing ropes tied to ballet bars and tubes. We also need... I'm investigating my own process of processing in the studio and kind of bringing that into the space as a facilitation model, thinking about my experience and what that's like from sensation to societal perception to my own perception or misperception, and how props and objects and text can bring a lot of that narrative in without me necessarily having to do as much. It's not about the aesthetic, it's not necessarily even what the movement is, it's really just how all of these things relate to each other and what feels intuitively right in the moment. I'm interested in people's intuitive choices and trusting that and supporting the process of trusting that, and then discovering kind of what's on the other side of that, even if you don't really know what it is or how to talk about it. I've learned a lot about the dancers that I've been working with because they have all brought in their whole selves and what their interests are.
Find your way to each other into something like a clump where that allows you to share weight or experience contact to your comfort, but ideally everyone will be involved. Some concepts that I'm exploring in the lab are alternative methods of timing within dance or among individual dancers. So I'm trying to deviate from just relying on an 8 count or even relying on a score to provide similarly to an 8 count. And I'm trying to find methods of timing that are kinesthetically based, that are vision or sound based, or are just based on trust between the dancers. My research in dance as someone in arts management and as a choreographer has been, how can I meaningfully and intentionally apply the principles of disability justice to a dance rehearsal space? And so AXIS has given me the opportunity to continue that research. An idea that I'm continuously sort of striving towards is how can the process have rest and pleasure and play and be really focused on like dancer preference and empowerment. How can I steer away from ideas of hard and fast professionalism and still find exciting, dynamic dance qualities while the process is equitable, empowering, and exciting?
I think that the legacies of disability art is steeped in challenging boundaries, this ability to kind of formulate a process and a praxis that is like already developed because of life experience that is essential to how other companies and organizations like should operate.
Bringing disabled artists and choreographers to the forefront, highlighting them, spotlighting them, and showing the work that's possible, showing the possibilities.
Most of my work is with community, so when I'm in the studio, I'm bringing that information and that experience into the process, and the end goal is ultimately to provide information to an audience that might make them think twice about something, or question their own thought process, or introduce them to language they might not have had. The people on stage are supporting themselves in their own care practices, so it's really this like navigation of all of it at the same time.
The ways I approach art overall and performance overall really informs how I look at dance, and perhaps look at dance differently than some elitist, ableist, normative folks do.
Seeing and placing disabled queer people in facilitation spaces and meaningful decision-making roles is pushing the boundary, because historically, folks who identify with multiply marginalized identities like myself have either not been in this space or serve as tokens who don't have meaningful decision-making roles. I think just the fact that I'm there, deciding how time is used and providing ideas is in and of itself challenging a boundary of what's possible in terms of who is making those decisions.
I think our leadership should be as varied as our interests. Disabled artists tend, to take on multiple roles. They know how to be the grant writer and the access doula, the disability consultant. They know how to, care for people, make sure that they're hydrating. And
having disabled leaders in the classrooms teaching as either teaching artists or K-12 certified educators is important, so that disabled children can see themselves in the classrooms teaching.
There's got to be more conversations about what a class structure looks like. There's got to be more conversations about building in access needs and having that as part of the instruction, part of the way that it's approached in a performance setting from the outset instead of something that's added on later. I think the biggest place that we can take up leadership is by really advocating and standing firm in our needs. So many situations I've been in, like, oh yeah, I can make that work, or I'll figure that out, or whatever, and I'm always adapting to the structure instead of the structure trying to support what I need.
I think it's having more collaborations between us and other companies like us, and other institutions and companies that are not like us. Because I think by having that conversation, we will be able to open the mind and open the eyes of those institutions to say, you know what we do as a disabled artist is not less than what the so-called mainstream does.
The support of disabled choreographers goes beyond only the dance field. It's also our support structures of transportation, the building access, economic access, increase our access to be able to even get into a studio space, or like Access did this year with the hybrid setup, having virtual access to space when we can't get out of our homes, or if we need to stay home for our health needs.
I've seen it occur wherein a disabled artist enters into an organizational context or a performing context, and that context is changed afterward. That's what should happen, and that's the way that I feel like if you engage a disabled artist, then your practices, they don't become perfect necessarily, but they do start to transform in line, because we are the ones that are talking about structural access.
And I just wanted to share my gratitude and emphasize the importance of programs like this. So to have the opportunity to explicitly choreograph as a disabled person and have resources that are tailored to that experience is so rich and so valuable in ways that I probably don't even know yet.
The community that AXIS is in, both in New York and in the Bay Area, that's a huge part of why this program is the way that it is the people who are here and the wisdom and the knowledge they have.
I'm really excited that these 2 weeks will transform into multiple weeks, multiple years of community. All the parts that we established here are just going to reverberate. And that is itself the necessity of disability art, I think.
So I just want to say thank you to AXIS and the many folks that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with and learning from, and encourage others to take note and, put resources and time and belief towards disabled choreographers and facilitators and those decision makers in the field.